Welcome back and thanks for visiting with me again today. I hope everyone is doing well. This video is part of a hop that is hosted by the Facebook group called Hoppin. Once you finish watching this video, check out some of their videos. They use the same theme, but will have totally different projects than the one I'm presenting today. Give them some love and subscribe to their channels. This project starts out with this stamp, which is kind of an antique. It is one that I've had in my stash for some time. I purchased it back in 2013. I only know because I used it as part of my party favors for my wedding. I believe it's by Stampin' Up. When I looked it up online, that's what I found, is someone had it listed as a Stampin' Up stamp. So now I'm speeding this up pretty significantly. I did want to leave it in though, just to demonstrate how I tried this a couple of different ways before I ended up with something that I really liked. And I really didn't change my design thinking at all. I just changed the way that I used the tools that I have. So this is a woodblock stamp, and of course I don't have many woodblock stamps left in my collection, but I ended up taking it off of the block, the wood block. First I try it with the my mini Misty, and that doesn't work, even though I try it a couple different times, moving the stamp around, moving the paper around, using the magnets, not using the magnets. Then finally, what it boils down to is that I decided that I was trying way too hard. So I end up laying the stamp down on my work surface and stamping by laying the paper on top. Here I'm using the back side of the paper just to see what I get. And it turned out okay, except that it wiggled. And you can't see here, but there were, it was shadowing. So I went ahead and had to cut down some more paper to the right size because I used the two sheets, my Plan A sheet and my backup Plan B sheet. So here I stamp up some regular VersaFine Onyx Black. And just kind of work that around, trying not to wiggle it too much. It's a better impression, but it is doubled up, so I trash that one, and then I go to my last piece of yellow, and I decide whatever this looks like is what I'm going with. So I ink up the stamp again, and I lay the yellow paper on top of it, and then I do the same thing where I press the paper against the stamp, but this time I'm just a little more careful about it and don't really press so hard that it would make the paper buckle into the grooves on the stamp. So first I just lay the block on top, and in my head I have May's voice saying, let it just kiss the page. So I just let the block apply some even pressure so that I get a good stamped image with an even amount of pressure. And there we have it. It is not perfect, but in the spirit of this stamp looks like an old dictionary page. It just looks a little worn. A couple of the spots I do end up covering up with a little bit of twine, which really doesn't cover it up, but it adds some interest over that. I originally thought that I would use individual letters for this, but then I realized that I have this love die in my stash, so I decided to use that, and I move it around here a couple of times to decide on the placement. And now I tape it down and take it into the other room where my Gemini is. I sandwich it up and cut it out. Luckily, all this took was one pass, and as I took apart the die and took off the tape, I was careful to keep track of where the inside of the O and the E ended up, because those I'm going to glue on to the top of my page. And like you do with a shaker card, I went ahead and put a piece of acetate over the open window that was on the front of my card and glued that on with some art glitter glue. And I found this old red glitter twine in my stash, and I wrapped it around a bunch of times, securing it with a little piece of mint tape on the back. There's the glitter part. I don't know how old this is. It's been hidden away for quite some time. I really fussed with this quite a bit, and there's really nothing to see here because I really just twirled it around, tied it, and just played with where the little strings ended up. And now that my strings are ready, I'm going to go ahead and glue the middle of the O and the E onto the acetate and wait for that to dry before I put my shaker filling in. Here I use my Scotch double-sided foam, and I create a pocket around the love die window, and also just add layers of foam to the rest of the card so that the entire cover of the card is at the same height, like that. And then I'll go ahead and fill it up with some red, pink, and white polymer clay hearts. I smash those down a little bit just to make sure it's only one layer and that they're not on top of the foam. And I remove the backing and then I add it to the card base. Of course, I add it to the card base while it is upside down and the base is on top of the card front. So of course it's not very even once I flip it over. So I decide to cut it up. And basically here, since I have that foam underneath, I am just cutting against the foam strip and cutting away the white part of the card. And then I just go ahead and adhere it again to another card base. And then I'm done. So there you have my shaker card. Again, this is part of a card hop that includes 14 other participants. Please check out their videos. I love to see how other people's projects turn out when they're given the same theme as I am. Thanks for spending your time with me again today, and don't forget, safety first.